Cat engines have a near cult-like following among veteran truck drivers. Caterpillar was once a titan in the truck engine manufacturing market. In fact, at one point, roughly 40% of the engines found under the hoods of trucks, tour buses, school buses, and RVs across America were Cat. Although, the company stopped producing their beloved engines seemingly out of the blue in 2008. Stick around till the end of this video because we're going to take a peek at Cat's most famous engines, why they stopped producing them, and also share some driver insights on Cat and their engines that were left on some of our previous videos. Also, if you want to keep up to date with the world of trucking, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Most Cat fans will agree on their favorite engine, and it always starts with a 3406. This engine had 4 different models, the 3406A, B, C, and the E. That being said, drivers often reference different models when discussing the best Cat engine, but one has shown up more in our comment section than others, the 3406B. Jeff, a viewer of this channel, once left the comment, "I don't personally run Caterpillar engines in my trucks, but I know a lot of people that do. There's still a lot of 3406B engines on the road. I think that was probably Caterpillar's best engine ever made." Or Mike, who once wrote to us, "There's only one engine at the top of this list, and that is the 3406B Cat, and all of its later variations, up to and including the C16. Nothing else comes close. And yeah, I've operated everything mentioned so far and many, many more. The 60 Series Detroit is just a sad copy of the 3406. Old school Cummins big cam engines were okay for their time, which is to say before Cat perfected the 3406. Or lastly, another Mike once told us, "I've driven the 1693 TA, 3406 PC, 3406A, 3406B, and am still driving the 3406E. I have to say, these engines are the greatest." The biggest differences between models was that the A and B were completely mechanical. The C was mostly mechanical with an electrically controlled fuel pump, depending on the year it was produced, and the E was the first successful fully electrical motor.
Guys, I just wanted to take a quick minute to thank all of you for your messages, your comments, and your emails. I wanted to help some of you out by answering a question that I get asked all the time about high-paying trucking jobs. If you are searching for a high-paying trucking job, look no further than to our friends over at Vista Trans. They are currently recruiting drivers and their pay rates are insane. 85 cents for flatbeds, 75 cents for reefers, and 65 cents for their DryVan division. Vista Trans currently runs over 350 power units, and you can work out of one of their 4 terminals in Illinois, New Jersey, Florida, and in Texas. All you have to do is fill out this form below, and this form will directly go to their HR manager. I don't know how much longer those rates are gonna last, but fill out that form below, and now back to that video.
So, what made these engines so great? The 3406 was designed to power heavy vessels and could both be used as a single unit, or it could be coupled in order to generate more power. These engines are often highly praised for their reliability. A big reason for this was because the 3406s were pre-emissions engines, which is preferred by many drivers. The reason for this is because ever since environmental regulations have come heavily into play, they brought with them endless sensors that can and often do become faulty over time and require additional maintenance. The 3406E engine could be very commonly found under the hoods of Peterbilt and Freightliners. Additionally, these engines were and can still be found being used in marine applications, such as large yachts, cruise ships, and freight transportation vessels, as well as inside off-highway equipment, such as dozers, scrapers, and mining equipment. What made the 3406E so unique was that they have the reliability that older mechanical engines have, but also the benefits of being an electrical motor. All of this being said, no engine is perfect. They all have their issues, and the 3406 was no exception. There was one engine serial number in particular, the 5EK, which had a pretty bad and widespread crankshaft breakage problem. Some of the 5EKs were made from a bad casting, causing the crankshaft to break most commonly at journals 1 and 6. Although these issues were common, Cat never issued a recall. Instead, they chose to deal with the crankshaft problems as they arose, and have seemingly been pretty good about replacing defective ones when a problem is reported. The 3406E also gets some complaints about bad oil leaks. This can most likely be chalked up to Caterpillar using flimsy gaskets in production, but some also think it was because the 3406Es have holes in the block as an optional way to check oil level, which are stoppered with rubber plugs, and after a few years this rubber can become hardened and cause oil leaks as well. However, Cat fixed this issue when upgrading the 3406 engine to the C15 in 1999. Not only did the C15 use seals instead of gaskets, but it actually had an entirely new block design. But despite these change-ups, many of the parts are actually interchangeable between a 3406E and C15. The C15 became extremely popular due to its versatility. Not only was it beloved in the trucking industry, but it was also commonly used in combines, harvesters, paving equipment, pumps, earth-moving equipment, aircraft support, and more. CAT actually lists over 34 applications that are powered by the C15. This engine won the JD Power Award for highest in customer satisfaction with vocational heavy-duty diesel engines, not just once, but 6 times. CAT says these engines have a 1 million mile lifespan, as long as you're following their recommended maintenance. The C15 has a power rating of 435 to 635 horsepower, with a total torque output of up to 2,050 foot-pounds. One of our viewers, Josh, actually prefers the C15 to the 3406s, stating that the CAT C15 is hands down the best engine and it sucks they don't make them anymore. Another viewer, JJ, also echoed this thought when he said, the 3406 CAT and its later variations, nothing else is even close. CAT is first, nothing is second, then Detroit and Cummins fight it out for third. When the EPA made its new rules about 15 years ago, CAT refused to make any more engines. CAT said any engine meeting the EPA standards wouldn't be worth the name Caterpillar. Damn straight. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that's not a legitimate quote of CAT's, especially seeing as I couldn't find it anywhere online, but JJ is onto something when he says the EPA standards played a major factor in CAT stepping away from the over-the-road trucking market. In the early 2000s, the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA for short, started tightening their regulations on emissions. This came at a unique time because when the housing market crashed in 2008, it caused CAT stock prices to nosedive. This was also paired with skyrocketing fuel prices. Unlike in the 60s and 70s when CAT was dominating the market, by the time the early 2000s rolled around, Cummins and Detroit Diesel had started eating into CAT's market share. One viewer, Rich, points this out by saying, CAT quit making engines not because of the EPA, CAT lost their biggest customer, PACCAR, as the contract was up in 2008 and wasn't renewed. That being said, considering everything I've read about this time in the company's history, it wasn't just emission regulations or losing their biggest customer, but a combination of both. It's that the company didn't want to invest a bunch of money into research and development at the same time their client base was shrinking. Although the difference between CAT and other truck engine manufacturers was that they weren't handcuffed to the trucking industry. As stated before, CAT was and still is an extremely popular manufacturer in industries such as construction, mining, and marine. Seeing as EPA restrictions were making it not just more difficult for manufacturers to meet standards, but also more expensive, CAT decided to stop building engines for the trucking industry. Interestingly enough, CAT tried to launch their own truck in 2012, but seeing as the C15 failed to meet emissions standards, the CAT truck was fitted with an international engine from Bosch. Although these engines were significantly less popular than CAT's, and for good reason. These Bosch engines were much less reliable, and the entire truck itself became well known for having a seemingly never-ending list of issues. These problems included routine check engine lights and limited parts availability. With the final effort for CAT failing in the trucking industry, they decided to remove themselves from it altogether, which seems to have not hurt the company at all. In 2020, CAT raked in an impressive $41.7 billion in revenue, which cemented them as the leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment. With that in mind, I have some bad news for some of our viewers, including Kevin, who says, if CAT started making truck engines again, I would buy another truck in a heartbeat. Because seeing as the company is knocking it out of the park in many other industries, it doesn't seem likely that they will ever re-enter the trucking market. At this point, there are just way too many headaches to deal with and regulation hoops to jump through. Well, that's all for me, folks. Let us know what your favorite CAT engine is, and if you're not a fan of CAT, like one of our commentators who said, I had a truck with one of the last CAT engines in it. Emissions went to crap at 17,000 miles and they kept it in the shop for 3 months before they fixed it. It was never a very reliable truck. Either way, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with new content, and we'll catch you on the next one.